Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to WCAT's rebroadcast of the 2019 Women's Soccer State Championship. I'm William Fauché for WCAT, joined alongside by a host of fantastic guests that are going to take you through the game and all of its high points. With me, I have Riley Patton, Emma Riley McGann, Smith Patton, and of course, head coach Clark Meyer. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
You bet.
All right, without further ado, let's get right into the game action here. Today, we're going to take you through the first 10 minutes of the game, each goal, and the overtime period that led to the Wildcat victory. So let's get right into it. So, Coach, obviously, the Westminster women's soccer program won with a great history of success. Talk about how you've kind of seen the program develop over the recent years.
Well, I mean, the last several years have been sort of dreamlike. Every team that we've had has always been a strong team. We've always been really competitive. But to have achieved what we have the last several years has been really special. Just very happy with the culture that we've had and the way that culture has transmitted from year to year, and the way that each group of seniors has really established it for the next group. And I think that winning becomes habit forming, and it's been a habit that we've been in. But more importantly, I think every season we feel like no matter how it ends up, we can walk off the field feeling good about the effort that we've put in, and feeling particularly good about the culture that we've created and the way that we've interacted with each other. So I'm not surprised that we have done as well as we have, but I also recognize it's a real gift, and it's ultimately secondary to what we've accomplished as a group and as a culture.
And you mentioned the culture there, the women's soccer program, one of the more tight-knit teams in the Westminster community. Both to you and the players, how do you guys kind of see that culture foster? What are some of the defining moments of the season, either on the field or off the field, that you think really brings the team together in such a unique way?
Well, personally, I think coming in as a freshman, it can be a little intimidating, especially knowing like the caliber of players that are on the team and the legacy that this team has. But I think our team does a really, really good job of just incorporating the seniors and also incorporating the seniors through the freshmen. And I think coming in as a freshman, I was definitely intimidated. I had no clue what to expect. But now, almost being a senior this upcoming year, I think I have had so much fun just hanging out with my best friends every single day in the spring. And the spring flies by so fast because of how much fun we all have.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we do a lot of stuff outside of soccer that really helps us to bond. And unfortunately, we didn't get to do a lot of that this season, but usually we have a team sleepover where we do all sorts of fun stuff, and we try and get out to dinner every few weeks with the team. We like to go to Fellini's. And I think that sort of stuff really helps our chemistry become visible on the field because we're so close off the field as well.
I agree. Kind of going off of what Emma Riley was saying, I think it's really important to make sure that the underclassmen and, I mean, everyone in general just feel really welcomed, because obviously we have a lot of talented players, many of which are underclassmen. And so making sure that they feel welcomed personally is like one way to ensure that they are showing like their best skills and stuff on the field.
And now, as the two most recent alumni of the program, how did you guys kind of, while the season was cut short, go about stepping into that leadership role and trying to bring some of those younger players into the fold? Because as you mentioned, that program is unique in the variety of age ranges of players, not only on the roster, but that see the field.
I think that something that's really helpful for us is that each of us has had friends through club soccer as well. So we've already been exposed to a lot of these younger girls who are coming in, and a lot of us have already built relationships with them. So I know, like for me, I've been close with Henley, and then through Henley, I got closer with Allie, and then with Caroline, and everybody who's been on club teams together is able to come together and be sort of a more cohesive unit just from those previous relationships that we've already built.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I couldn't have said it better.
And Emma Riley is the resident, I guess, on the broadcast, only current player on the team. How do you kind of see yourself moving past this fallen apart season in a way and continuing to bring the group closer together and keeping the eyes on the prize next year?
Yeah, I think this year is definitely disappointing for everyone, and I know especially hard for the seniors. And going through, like, if we're looking for a state championship next year, which is always the goal, it's going to be hard missing that 2020 year. But I think that, like Riley and Smith said, just incorporating everyone on the team, whether underclassmen or upperclassmen. But also next year is going to be weird because we don't know what to expect with the whole club scene going on. But I think if we maintain that team culture that Coach Meyer and the seniors were talking about, I think that's just the best way to keep our eyes on the prize, because that's how we've done it in the past and it's always worked for us. So.
And Coach, it's always such a mix juggling players between club programs and the school programs, so much ebb and flow between these. How do you kind of take this hodgepodge of different players and really try to bring them together as a cohesive unit?
I mean, I think it's sort of the fun of each season that even throughout all of my years with this team, every year feels like a different team. And it may be that even in a year where we have low turnover, where we only have a couple of players who graduate and a couple of players who come in the next year, it still feels like every year feels like a completely different year. And that I enjoy that aspect. I think figuring out new roles, figuring out the combinations in the field, figuring out our culture and helping the seniors grow into defining our roles. The last 4 years or so have been a lot more fluid in that respect. We certainly, going from 2017 to 2018, we had huge turnover for reasons that were beyond our program. But I think if you get the culture right, that we've got the kind of caliber of player and caliber of character that will reforge that from year to year. We definitely have an identity in terms of the way that we play, and we have an identity in terms of the kinds of teammates we are for each other. And I think that's really, it takes maintenance, but it is also thankfully quite durable.
Well, and despite this turnover that you see year to year, the Cats consistently putting out the highest quality product on the field. You can even see early in this game thus far, while the Cats haven't found the back of the net, they've been absolutely dominant in that attacking third, pressuring the Lions defense. Talk a little bit about what that means to you as a coach to see a team come out that fired up and that intense at the beginning of such an important match.
Well, until the ball goes in the back of the net, it's hard to relax in soccer. Soccer can be a strange game in which you can completely dominate a team. But certainly I love that the weight of the occasion doesn't get in the way of the way that we play, we have faith in each other, have faith in our style, and can play really the way that we want to. As this match went on and more and more time went by without putting the ball in the back of the net, I think it takes a lot of courage to continue to have faith and to continue to believe in the way that you play. And certainly by the time we got to the second half, it felt a little less, we felt a little less grounded, and it took a while to regain that and get ourselves together. But yeah, from the beginning, if we can't establish the kind of team that we are and can't establish that we can play our identity and be comfortable with that, I don't think you ever get it back. And so while we sure created a lot of chances early in this game and never completely felt comfortable until midway through the overtime, really, I think that this becomes a touchstone that we can come back to as the match goes on, that yes, we absolutely can dominate this match and we can play the kind of way that we want to play. So it was a lot of fun, but we definitely, we kept coming close to scoring and kept coming close to scoring. And that can be really draining. I was proud of the way that we managed to not fall apart and not lose heart, given the sort of the ebb and flow of the match.
And girls, to come out with this kind of energy in a match, there's got to be some pretty special pregame rituals. What are you guys doing in the locker room to get your heads in the right mental space to get ready for such an important match?
It's actually funny that you mentioned that because I know a lot of teams, as they're preparing for games, will play really hype music and try and get themselves ready. And for the past 3-4 years, I don't even know how long it's been going on, we've just been playing High School Musical in the locker room going out. And I think that's something that we always look forward to. And we all have videos from on our Snapchats that say like 1 year ago today, and it's all of us screaming these silly lyrics. And I think that's just something that's like really takes the nerves away and really helps us to feel like we're ready for the game.
And another big time strike there. Coach, I saw your reaction to that one as you saw it go wide left of the goal. I mean, just battering down the Lions' door. Girls, how are you feeling at this point, 10 minutes in, and you're just attacking, and nothing seeming to go your way?
I actually found it somewhat reassuring because 2 years ago, we sort of let some other factors come into play during this game. We beat Leavitt in the regular season. We had won the state championship the year before against Pace. And I feel like we sort of came in a little too confident, and we didn't come out of the gate, having all these shots and stuff like that. And so last year, we knew to not let anything like that, come into play in this. And we just played the game how we knew we could. And I feel like that's why we came out so strong. And so I kind of saw this as our opportunity to just keep working hard and keep playing our game, because there was obviously a reason that we were on their half the field so often. So.
And that you were. So far, the Lions have barely managed to scratch the defensive end of the Wildcats. How important was it for the later success of this game to almost exhaust them in their defensive third, as they couldn't even get the ball past midfield?
We talk about that a lot, and it's a metaphor that the girls are probably tired of hearing from me, that I got from a coach that used to coach at the University of Georgia, where possession soccer is like a boxer just jabbing and jabbing and jabbing through a boxing match. That none of those jabs are going to they're not the ones that are going to knock the opponent out, but they are the ones that tire the opponent and ultimately lead to dropping the gloves and leaving yourself open. And I feel like when we play the kind of game that our identity is built around, that all of this possession and moving the ball is exhausting for another team. And yeah, I love it. They definitely put a ton of pressure on us in the second half. But once we got to the overtime period, it was hard to imagine they had as much in the tank as we did. And I think we established that with our play early on here.
And you mentioned the University of Georgia now going to be hosting some Wildcat alums, a fantastic group of seniors graduating from this program. Let's take a look through them now, and both to everybody here, feel free to chime in, say anything that you would like about any of these players. A fantastic class of 2020 that played in this game, starting first and foremost with Alex Wagner. Alex Wagner going to Vanderbilt. Riley Patton, there you are.
So if we go back to, I could talk about each of them for a long time. Alex, I think her nickname is Zoom, just for the speed that she puts on in the field. I don't know that I've ever seen anything quite like it. The way that she accelerates, particularly with the ball at her feet, and it is one of the most fun players. She's one of the most fun players we've ever had to watch. Riley has always been an important engine room for us in the midfield, and this season was putting in midfield performances that were among the most dominant I have ever seen from a Westminster player. And then Smith was next. Smith, what strikes me, I wrote her a note last week where I talked about how Smith, I think, of all the players that I've had, how much she's grown, that she's become the heart of this team. And to watch her go from from being the kind of person she was as a freshman to the kind of person she is as a senior has been remarkable. And I think you were using as the segue for University of Georgia with Tori, since Tori will be at Georgia next year. Tori ends our season or ends her Westminster career as number 2 in the scoring records, which is a remarkable accomplishment, particularly with an incomplete senior year. From the first season that she was with us, just had a knack for finding the back of the net that that is priceless in soccer. And then we've got Sydney. Sydney Martin has been a very, very intelligent, hardworking, humble player. I just love her intelligence in the midfield and the way that she moves the ball around. And then Taylor Thomas is our backup keeper last year. The backup keeper is a job that takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment, and it's the one position where you see probably the least amount of time in the field. But her contributions and her work ethic were amazing from start to finish. And in every season you have moments that surprising moments, and for us, Taylor saw the field in some very, very, very important matches and had a couple of absolutely huge saves. So it was just a terrific group, and to watch them mature from the time they came in to where we are this year that's why I coach. I love winning, and I love matches like this one that we're watching, but it's the people and the way that they develop that really make me excited.
And there's so many memories that each of these players make within the program. Now, to the players, what are some of your favorite memories throughout your time in the Westminster soccer program?
I can start us off. I think, the game last year was incredible, beating Levitt again in PKs. But I think that the first time beating Levitt and after overtime and everything and the heat, just watching their faces as we beat them in PKs was just so satisfying, because we had known going into the game which way their PK takers were going to kick it. And so we actually had our goalkeeper, Emma Cawley at the time, memorize which way each of their kickers went. And so watching them go one by one and have Emma save it and go the right way, and then them finally figuring out that we knew where they were going, is just always going to be a memory that I have. So I think that's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, I think big moments like that are always so fun to remember, I think we're all ready, especially for the state tournament this year, to have more moments like that. But I think there's also small moments during the season that just always stick out to me, because those are the moments that I appreciate the most, when we're just kicking around on a random Thursday afternoon practice. I think also moments when we're not even on the field, like Riley said earlier, we all go to Fellini's as a team, which is always so fun, especially because this year was my first year being an upperclassman. I get to drive all the underclassmen, and I think that's always just a fun role to take on, and just sitting around eating pizza with your best friends is just those are the moments that I always enjoy. And going back to all the seniors, I wanted to say that I think this class especially is has a special place in my heart, because they're all such amazing people, and I think the whole team can attest to this, where this all these seniors led with such grit and grace, and that's really hard to do. But I think, it's definitely going to be a big hole in the team next year. That's going to be hard for us 3 juniors to fill, but I'm excited to see what's next.
You're going to make us cry.
Kind of just like what Emma Riley was saying, the chemistry off the field is probably some of my favorite memories of my high school experience, not even just soccer. And, seeing that chemistry then translate onto the field is something that's just so special. And I feel like that's probably going to be one of the things that I'm going to miss the most about Westminster soccer next year.
And that chemistry certainly showed on the field all season long. 21 minutes left, and still, I mean, a multitude of chances just at the goal. Coach, you're on the edge of your seat over there, just seeing ball after ball almost slip into the back of the net. What does it mean to you guys? I feel like too often we kind of overshadow what it really means to win a state championship because it seems so commonplace. I mean, that really is a special thing that once you have it, it's yours forever. What does that kind of mean to you guys?
Well, you go. No, you got it.
Sorry.
You got it.
Just a quick thing. I was just going to say I have my state championship shirt on right now. I just think it's something that you can always hold on to, and I think that's something that we were all looking forward to, is hopefully having that 4th state ring for the seniors. And I don't know, it's definitely sad, but I think it's just something that I will always have and be able to talk about and tell my kids about. And when they're, seeing what sports they want to play, I can tell them, well, I won a state championship a bunch. So I think it's just something that whenever it comes to mind, I smile and I think about it all the time. And I think that's really, really special.
Yeah, I agree with Riley. Also, kind of going off of that sort of, I think that some of my favorite things about winning state championships is getting the rings, because I feel like that's like you get the emotional satisfaction when you actually win. And then, getting your ring like months later, that's when all those like feelings sort of rush back. And even though the rings are like really ugly and we're not really ever going to wear them, like it's fun to just kind of have those little like physical like memories sort of with those.
Yeah, I think those physical memories are always fun, like the shirt, the medal, the ring. I think it's so funny. Now I'm thinking about one of my friends, Megan Props, on the team. She has a whole section in her room dedicated to like all of her soccer pictures, her hat, state championship hat. She has like her ring set up, hopefully with space for more, but it's so funny. I think everyone like takes all the memories to heart, and also those physical reminders, like Smith said.
Well, and it's always a fun day to show up to school after winning a state championship in all of your garb. Let's take a look now at the last 5 minutes of the half. Score 0-0 still. Cats have continued to berate the goal with no luck thus far. Talk us through now. You've been in the game for 35 minutes and still no success. What's your mental state at this point?
I just remember watching Madeline over there on the right side beat that defender over and over and over and over again. And I think that's something that we were all sort of talking about. Like, I think I looked at Smith and I was like, it's coming. Like, it has to come soon. And I think I felt really confident. I think we were all just sort of, oh, yeah, it's tough to watch that. But I think we all sort of knew it was going to come. And I think having that goal right before halftime is so important, because you have that leg up. And I think that really helped us going into the second half as well.
I've been with the team long enough with the program to remember matches like this that didn't turn out the way that this one did. We had one that I talk about all the time, was a first round loss to Wesleyan, where we outshot them 43-0 and managed to lose in PKs. And I think it takes a tremendous amount of character as a team to come this close again and again and again and again and maintain the belief. And Leavitt certainly had a head of steam in the second half, and we weathered that storm. And I thought that was amazing. We made some adjustments in the field. We started this match with Talia at center back. She's a world-class player. But by this point, we had moved her into the midfield. We felt like this goal has to come eventually. I mean, we just felt like we were knocking and knocking and knocking. So I guess my memory is long enough that I wasn't feeling nervous, but I certainly wasn't completely relaxed at this point. It's hard to maintain the kind of dominance that we did, and if you don't put the ball in the back of the net, you're leaving it up to having kind of an interesting run-in, which we did.
You mentioned Alex Wagner's speed in particular earlier. One thing that I've always been fascinated by watching this program is how quick the team is and the way that the ball just seems to float along the field down to the other end. Talk about how you kind of develop that wing strategy that has become so successful using Wagner and the cross throughout the program's recent years.
Well, ideally we let the ball do most of the work. That by the time it gets to her and she puts on that burst of speed down the wing, we've been peppering it around quite quickly, and we try to hold on to it for as a team as long as we can, but individually for as short a time as we can. That every time you move the ball, you're moving the defense, and when you play a good possession game, that's something they have to shift and shift and shift and shift to accommodate. And eventually you create the opening, you create the matchup where you've got an Alex 1v1 on a player. And I believe pretty heavily in the 80-20 rule, that 20% of what you work on is what gives any given team the most success. And for us, it is our possession play. So there are lots of things that we could spend time on in training, but playing a possession type offense is what we do best, and that's the thing that we work on the most. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to play it quickly, to see the field quickly, to minimize the amount of time between touches, and even we talk a lot about the passes that we hit. We want them to be fizzy passes, that a ball that moves languidly from one player to another is an easy one for the defense to shift with. But if we put some speed and pace on those passes, we can handle that in terms of our skill. That's a lot harder for the defense.
And there's the free kick that leads to the first Westminster goal. Just under a minute there. An absolutely beautiful ball put back into the back of the net. Let's take one more look at it now. A great touch there from the 20-yard line. Just soars its way in off the keeper's hands. And there's the cleanup finish. A beautiful goal now after almost an entire half of frustration, lack of finding the back of the net. Was it just a weight off your shoulders scoring that goal going into the second half?
I think I can probably speak for most of us that we were just really excited for Ella and Talia, because that's one of those goals that's just a hustle goal. She didn't have to follow it up. We all had a lot of confidence in Talia's free kick ability. So I think I just remember being so excited that she had that moment and that both of them had that moment. And so, yes, well, it was definitely a relief going into the half. I think it was sort of anticipated, and I just remember how excited everyone was for them too.
Yeah, I think definitely going into halftime, it takes a huge weight off of your shoulders and also gets you more pumped up for the second half going in. And like you can see, everyone runs to each other when we score because, like Riley said, we were all so excited, not just that we scored, but for our teammates. So I think that's also one of the best moments. Like when you score a goal and your whole team runs to hug you, that's the best feeling ever. So
things were certainly looking up for the Cats at this point in the match. Now let's jump ahead to the second half, just before the Lovett Lions managed to find the back of the net and bring this to a 1-0 equalizer. There's the corner, and it just sneaks its way in. Coach, you want to break down kind of what happened here from your perspective?
Well, I guess I haven't seen this in a while. I think it's Chandler that gets this ball. Chandler victimized us on dead balls the year before as well. From on a corner, she is amazing in her ability to track the ball in the air. And it's very. I don't think that we make any mistakes defensively to speak of. It's not like she's got a ton of space there to work with. She's actually surrounded by players. But she's a remarkable weapon in this kind of situation. It had been 30 minutes of pressure from them, and as important as Tal's goal was, I remember going into halftime feeling like, okay, there's the piece that is going to break their back. We've dominated them the entire time. We haven't managed to find the back of the net, and that's got to be giving them some energy and some belief. And I really felt like scoring late in the first half, like we did, would completely let the air out of their sails. And credit to them, and credit to Coach Lozier for keeping them positive in this match, because I think we felt quite comfortable starting the second half, and very quickly found ourselves really under the cosh. And it was just a terrific goal from her.
And a momentous goal for the Lions remains equal at ones until the overtime period. You're 80 minutes of soccer deep at this point. To all the players here, physical exhaustion has got to be starting to take a toll on your body with the pressure that you guys have been applying.
Smith, you want to talk about your cramping?
Yeah, I think.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, that turf is probably the hottest it will ever get at that point. Like, if you have black cleats, I mean, that's a tough game for you. I mean, yeah, throughout the season, I feel like we sort of dealt with this. I mean, it gets really hot during these days and stuff. And after 80 minutes of soccer, like you said, I mean, yeah, it can just get really exhausting. And I kind of dealt with cramps throughout the entire season, and I had a few during this game. So yeah, I mean, we were really tired. I think everyone was, but I don't think that stopped us from, trying any less hard. I mean, I think we just kept going and we knew what we needed to do.
I mean, the question remains then, would you rather have this kind of heat or a 3-hour thunderstorm delay 15 minutes into the game?
Good question. I don't know.
That was certainly not ideal conditions for a state championship either, but the game must go on. Coach, from your perspective here, 1-1, Cats had just been battering down the door of the Lions all game long. What's your message to the team going into this overtime period?
I mean, I guess my message was that we had been resilient in the pressure they had put on us in the second half. And my message was that that's not something they're going to be able to sustain. That the way that we have played, there it is.
It certainly worked. Whatever you said, played in the Cats' favor. Early find there puts them up 2-1. And that's, I mean, you talk about the first goal being a relief. It's got to feel good to get one early in the overtime period.
Yeah, I didn't think that Lubbock could maintain the kind of pressure that they did, and that the way that we played for the first half had to have softened them up and made it really difficult. And what a move.
And just a great touch there, sneaks it into the back corner. Certainly not an easy ball to place when you're moving at that speed.
Yeah, it was a class moment, and this is Tori ended up with a goal and an assist in all 3 state championships that she played in, which is that's an amazing record.
Right off the left foot. So now in overtime, Cats leading 2-1. And girls, at this point, you're starting to see that for your seniors, at least at the time, that this was really starting to bring an end to their soccer career for some of them. What's that kind of sentiment on the field at this point?
Oh my God.
Sorry, you got it, Steph.
Okay. I feel like at that point, I feel like this is after Tori's goal. I feel like that's when we all sort of felt their Lovett's momentum change. And I feel like that's when they sort of started to break down for the last time. And so I think that's when we all just realized that we wanted to do it for them. I mean, I know especially Mira, who had torn her ACL in the beginning of the state playoffs. I know we definitely all wanted to do it for her. Just coming out of the game and seeing her on the sidelines, pouring her heart out. She never stopped cheering. She would literally throw her crutches and run to hug everyone with a torn ACL. And so I feel like that's sort of what kept us going and eventually helped us to sort of, win, I guess, in the end.
Yeah, I agree with you, Smith. And I think sort of going off of that, not necessarily at the seniors, but just, there's me getting a nice stretch in from my cramping. But I think what really helped me in these last few moments was I came off the field to get water or something, and I just remember seeing Coach Zido, and she could tell, she knew I was just so exhausted from the heat. And she came up to me and she said, Riley, I know you got 5 minutes left of being a Wildcat left in you. And I just remember that really, really struck me. And then as you can see, I go back in and good things happen. And I just think that it was little moments like that that made us all want to play for each other. And, just the idea of being a Wildcat is so special. And I think it goes beyond just an individual player or 2 players, 3 players. I think it's really a collective thing that we just all wanted to do it for each other. And especially like Mira and all of the seniors, like it was just such a special moment for us, I think.
Yeah, I think honestly it doesn't feel real until after the game ended. Like it didn't feel real at all. And I know everyone on the team knows Eva Pound was a huge crier throughout the season, She is so sentimental. And I think at the end of the game, we weren't expecting for all the seniors to be crying at the end. So I think, there's look at that.
You guys certainly did not settle after that second goal, putting another one back. I mean, just beautifully struck balls is the name of the game for this program. I mean, I don't think I've seen a sloppy goal in memory. You guys always make it look so good. Coming down here just lays it off and just beautifully placed into the back of the net.
Thank you.
It's a textbook give and goal between the two. It's a one-touch pass from Tori, one-touch finish from Riley, and this defender doesn't stand a chance. She's 2v1, and when we move the ball around like that, at this point, I was not comfortable in the first half with the kind of pressure that we were putting on. I never felt like we were that the result was not in doubt. But at this point, I really felt like the result was not in doubt. Lovett just had nothing left in the tank, and we had recaptured the way that we wanted to play and the way that we wanted to possess. And it was a glorious way to score a third goal.
A glorious goal leading to a glorious win. The 5th consecutive state championship for the Westminster girls program, 13th in program history. What does it mean to be a part of a legacy, both from a player and coach's standpoint, with just such a sterling reputation, even on a national level?
I think it's a lot of pressure for anyone, but I think it's sort of an exciting pressure. Something that I remember just watching that goal back was just thinking in my head as Tori laid the ball back off to me, like, don't mess this up, don't mess this up, don't mess this up. Like, you have got to score, because I feel like the people that come before us and have, paved the way for us to be so successful, I feel like we all just want to do it for them. And I think just being a part of a program like that makes you want to strive for excellence. And I mean, that's all you can really say about it. It's really, really, really a special thing to be a part of.
There was a moment here in overtime that Coach Bynum talks about a lot. As we got later, I started to sub more often just to run some seconds off the clock. And Madeline at the time was playing on the right wing, and so subbing her was the person who had the furthest to travel over to the bench and was going to take the most time off the clock. So I kind of rotated her in and out a couple of times, and Bynum remembers really well one of the moments where she came off the field, and we were in the last few minutes by this point, and there was no doubt that we had it sealed. And he said sort of visibly you could see her shed the weight as she came over, just a sense of relief to get off the field and have a moment to really enjoy what was going on. I think that the pressure that Riley talked about is palpable for them. It's interesting for me. I don't feel it anymore. I just, at this point in the match, I was enjoying the game. I was happy. I was really happy that we were playing well. I was really happy with the effort we had put in. But I've been in soccer long enough that I've had other games where I've been really happy with the way that we played, and we haven't come up with a result that we wanted. But I always felt like it was the kind of team that we wanted. So to have the results, the wins, is amazing. It's a total testament to the players who are on the field, because ultimately they're the ones who get it done. And I think every year lays the foundation. We have this culture and we have this tradition, but it's the players in the field every time who end up getting it done.
And on this day, there certainly was a lot to enjoy as the Cats walk away with the 2019 Soccer State Championship after the overtime period with a final score of 3-1. Let's take one more look back now at the goals that got us here. Starting off with the first one, just a great ball off this free kick. Up, and Coach, feel free to chime in with any analysis that you have here. Better you than me.
Well, so with Tal's kick, I mean, we actually had worked on a good bit, having her shoot from the center circle off of the kickoff, and she's world class at the way that she can strike the ball. And what you don't really get the sense of in the broadcast is how much pace was on that, and she puts spin on the ball to where it really swerves and dips quite a bit. And so what looks like kind of a lazy arcing rainbowing ball really was incredibly tough for Levitt's keeper. So for it to be 30 yards away from goal, that's well within her range. Just a world-class addressing of the ball, and there were no Levitt players anywhere near their keeper when she made contact with it, and Ella was right there just to make sure. So yeah, I mean, Tal was always a threat on a ball like that, and it was just a totally important moment for it to happen.
And jumping back into the overtime now, because, I mean, who needs to see the Lions goal again? 1-1, just into overtime. The Cats find the back of the net again, and things are starting to look up. Just a great runoff on this ball. There's the left foot into the back corner. I mean, world class there from Penn.
The pass before it, I'm not sure who it came from. Riley, it may have been you that set her up, but this little reverse pass.
Madeline.
Is that Madeline?
Yeah.
That is such vision to be able to see in your peripheral vision at that point. Madeline was moving from left to right, and she catches this ball across her body. The Levitt defenders are moving the direction that she is, and then Tori with that shift to her left. And you can see Levitt's center back just did not have the legs to stay with that kind of moment. And Tori created some space and just passed it right into the corner.
And last but not least, Riley, get your time to shine again. The final goal of the match here, putting the Cats up 3-1, that sealed the deal and gave the Cats their 5th consecutive state championship, lays that one off, and no one around to stop that ball. Great emotion there as everybody on the field kind of felt it come to an end. While there was 11 minutes left, I mean, the Lions team beaten and bruised at this point. Well struck, well finished, and the Cats are up 3-1 at the end of the state championship. Guys, any closing remarks for each other, for Coach, about what this win meant to you?
I mean, I think looking back on it now, especially considering the fact that we didn't have a chance to compete for a state title this year, I think that just means, like, it makes this state championship mean that much more. And I feel like that was sort of like the cherry on top to my experience at Westminster, at least, just because this season we didn't really ever face any, like, really serious, like, competition. And so I felt like this was sort of like the last, like, real moment of Westminster soccer. And so I feel like that's what's going to make this one really last for me.
I agree with Smith. And, you know, like, obviously we didn't know it then, but I think this was just, like you said, like, such a great way to end, you know, Westminster soccer, as sad as it is. But I just can't wait to come back and watch Emma Riley and the rest of the team next year. And I think it'll be really fun. So it was a great game. Happy to watch it back. Brings back some memories, some feels.
Yeah, from my perspective, I've been here a lot and I've been in a lot of these matches, and none of them feel the same. They all, every single one has its own narrative. Every single one has a different group of kids who accomplish it. And this one I can easily say is right up there with 2013 as being my two favorites. This was just so much fun, and when this was over, it felt really satisfying. And there was nothing about nothing about the game in particular. It was the team, and I told them at the end of the year last year that I think this was I think it was our best team. It was our best team in terms of the talent and in particular in terms of the culture that we had. So it was just enormously gratifying. We have a squad of kids that, from every player on the field to every player on the bench to every parent who's a part of this, that we're all pulling in the same direction, and we've created a culture that I think replicates itself and really matters. And for my seniors, I think it is so important to put this year into perspective that yes, this was not the playbook that we expected, but the important work, the important part of the season was accomplished. That we spent several very important months together and really reestablished who we are as a culture, and that's gonna carry through as the years go on. Smith, I don't know that we didn't face any good competition. We tore a good team apart the last time on the field. So it was, y'all were outstanding. We ended undefeated, which is really nice. But really the important part is the legacy that you've handed off to Emma Riley and all of the other players that will come with us.
Well, Coach Riley, Emma Riley Smith, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's a great opportunity to be able to take this walk down memory lane with you guys. A special thank you to Bobby Bryant, Daniel Searle, William Turton, and Turner Cravens in the studio. A fantastic crew with us this evening. Thank you guys for joining us here for this rebroadcast of the 2019 Women's State Soccer Championship. I'm William Fauché for WCAT. Go Cats.
Bye, y'all.